Hello and welcome. You're watching Your Trades on ET Now with me, Snehisha, and with me is Shreyansi Singh. And Shreyansi, well, nothing to complain about today when it comes to today's market session, and indeed a thundering Thursday for our markets today, because what a move we've seen on Nifty. Now, in the last 2 days, we've been struggling to cross that 22,600, and today we're kissing distance away from 23,000. So you can imagine the kind of recovery we've seen in the markets today. Almost a 370 point uptick coming in on the Nifty alone. Nifty Bank also lent some brilliant support today, almost a 1,000 point uptick coming over there as well. Sensex has a 1,200 point uptick coming on that front. Fresh highs for Sensex coming in today as well. Broader markets have not outperformed the benchmarks today. Slight underperformance coming over there, but in the green nonetheless. So stellar moves coming in from our markets today. And when you take a look at even the broader markets, right, today you have a whole host of winners. Garden Reach, that was up 20%. That's a stock to talk about today. Cochin Shipyard also 15% higher. Uno Minda, RVNL, Mazzacot Dock, all of them have done stellarly today. On the flip side though, you had a whole bunch of losers also in today's trading session. Let's talk about HEG, because that stock did very poorly today and has ended the day with a cut of more than 16%. Revenue was down 11%, PAT is down 67%, and the street is not very happy with the demerger news that the company has come out with. Sun Pharma also disappointing because down 3%. Management guidance has come slightly weak, and that's not being liked by the street as well. Lupin was down 5%, so that was another stock to talk about today. But when you take a look at the overall market, you had PSU banks, that was the best performing sector. Indian Overseas Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, Bank of India seemed like they were doing well today. Metal, however, was not holding up very smartly in today's trading session, despite being the top gainer in yesterday's trading session. You had Zinc, Vedanta, as well as Nalco not doing very well today as well. All-time high was reached for not only the Nifty but also names like I mentioned earlier, Garden Reach, Cochin Shipyard, Mazzacot Dock, all very stellar moves coming over there as well. Garden Reach up 20%, Mazzacot Dock was 9%, and Cochin Shipyard was also up 18% today. So the real winners in today's trading session is the entire defense pack. Strong volumes also seen across PNC, Infra, Gland Pharma, Sumitomo. So all good moves coming over there as well. Railway stocks also were ones that were buzzing today. RVNL was up 9%, IRFC somewhere up 6%, so very stellar moves coming on that front as well. So overall, a good day coming in for our markets, and stellar moves coming in on the Nifty Bank as well as Sensex. DB Corp, Garden Reach, RVNL, like I mentioned, were the key buzzers in today's trading session, Shans.
Absolutely, and nothing to complain about, right? Because even though that 23,000 level remained elusive for the Nifty, the color of your dress was really just the theme of the market, isn't it? But yeah, like you mentioned, since you mentioned DB Corp, that one also hit upper circuit. Garden Reach as well, good Q4, nearly 19% uptick as well. And you had all of these buzzers, and along with this, of course, there's Tata's evaluating the revival of Tata Play IPO. Now, the Tata Group is evaluating options to revive the IPO proposal for Tata Play. Tata Play's plan for an IPO has been delayed for more than a year, even as parent Tata Sons has been in active talks to purchase 10% equity stake in the television broadcast service firm from Singapore's Temasek as well. So that exclusive is something that we'll get you more information on as well. And you did have, on the primary market front, of course, you did have Go Digit that listed on the bourses at a premium, slight premium of 3.3% coming in for that one. But thereafter, you did see it having a little bit of an uptick to the tune of about 7%, and that's what you saw for Go Digit as well. But lots of buzzers to keep track of, right?
Well, absolutely, lots of buzzers to keep track of, and the session that we've seen today, let's understand where we are headed going ahead. And for that, we're being joined in the studio by our in-house technical expert, Kunal Bothra. Kunal, hi, thanks so much for joining us today. Let's take a look and understand at what the market has been like today, right? Because last 2 days, we've been struggling to cross 22,600. Today, suddenly out of nowhere, we're kissing distance away from 23,000. Tell us if this rally is sustainable, keeping in mind we have 2 phases of elections still left. Do you think the market has already, factored in that kind of volatility and only good times are ahead?
Yeah, so I think most part of the market rally was, of course, because of the large cap names and how the large caps behave today, and that was something which was due for the markets, because we've seen individual sectors making a comeback for themselves, mid caps and small caps doing pretty well, but the large caps were missing out in action. So I think today was a complete day where we saw most of the large cap names, right from the likes of L&T, Reliance, towards even the likes of HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, HUL, etc., making a strong comeback for themselves. Some of them breaking past above the previous highs, and of course, many of the Adani group of names, Enterprise as well as Adani Ports. I think those stocks had also done pretty well. So it was a complete large cap show which was seen today. I think that was one of the major reasons why the index catapulted to 300, 350 plus points. The Nifty specifically. Now, I believe going forward, if we see the the similar signs which you've seen today, for example, if the India VIX continues to remain at 21 plus mark and the large caps actually show signs of strength going forward, I think 23,000 could be just about a formality for the indices. But what matters now is that if the India VIX continues to be at 21 plus levels, say over the next few odd trading sessions, and if there is a slew of short covering which happens into the the many of the other sectors like IT, FMCG, etc., then we could be looking at least another 400 to 500 points of further jump on the indices. So with India VIX, the advantage is that the index would start scaling up higher in a much more quicker manner than what could have been a case where the India VIX could probably have been at maybe 12-13 mark.
Right. So given the kind of thundering Thursday that we've seen today, and given the kind of moves that we've really seen today, is the banking pack somewhere where you're seeing value emerging then?
Well, absolutely, yes. I think banking stocks, and remember, I think this is one sector, private sector banking names, and even the few of the large cap, PSU banking stocks, where there was slew of short positions which was consistently there. Now, today was the first sign where you saw relative strength making a comeback into this sector. I believe the short positions would start to unwind, and it's a very strong process of short covering which happens. It doesn't happen in a matter of just 1 or 2 odd trading sessions. But I believe that if this process continues for maybe another 1 week or couple of weeks, we could be looking at the Bank Nifty also making an all-time high.
All right, Kunal, thanks for taking us through that. Also help us with your stock-specific ideas. Then how are you seeing value in this market? What would your picks be?
So I'll go with 2 buy calls. One from the auto pack, which is another sector which has made a very strong comeback. Ashok Leyland is something which I would recommend at current levels of 210 approximately. Looks strong for a target of 225. Stop loss could be kept at 205. And ICICI Bank is another obvious pick from the private sector banking names because of the strong comeback the stock has made today. The risk reward still very positive and favorable. Would suggest a buy with a target of 1160. Stop loss at 1110.
All right, thanks Kunal for joining us then. Ashok Leyland as well as ICICI Bank is where Kunal sees value emerging. But let's move on then. Ganeshram Jairam, MD and Head, Avendus Spark Institutional Equities, talks about the sectors he's bullish on and those he has an underweight stance on. Listen in to understand his rationale then.
We are recommending an underweight stance on financials, underweight on consumption, underweight on IT or the entire commodities pack. Overweight is on pharma and industrials. Private capex is actually, in our expectation, over the next 24 months, that remains the largest hope expectation, and for that the stocks are very expensive. They've been multi-baggers over the last 24 months, so there is less margin of safety in the stock prices, but those earnings will continue to compound at 20% over the next 24 months. So continues. Our topics continue to have a bias towards industrials, and the second sector is pharmaceuticals.
All right, well, that's the word coming in from Ganeshram Jairam on a word from the Vice segment. But viewers, with that, we'll slip into a very short breather on this edition of Your Trades. We'll be right back with a quick roundup on more on today's trading session and how to navigate tomorrow's trading session in terms of derivatives. So you stay tuned. Hi there, welcome back. You're still watching Your Trades on ET. Now let's take a look at how the derivative space has shaped up today, and good moves coming over here as well. We're seeing some long build up on the Nifty for the 30th May expiry, and also long build up is being seen on Nifty Bank. So positive indicators coming over here for next week's expiry. And also let's take a look at what India VIX has been up to today. That has closed the day at 21.4 thereabouts, and a slight cool off, 21.3, pardon me, close to 21. 21.4. So slight cool off seen over there as well. 0.5% lower is where India VIX is. Second consecutive session of cool off for India VIX because it was lower by 1.5% yesterday as well. So good indicators coming in on India VIX as well. Now let's take a look at where the call and put writing was seen in the market today. Active calls for the 30th May expiry. We did see some call buying happening at 23,000 and some mild call buying also happening at 23,100. So good levels to watch out for as well. In terms of active puts, we did see some put writing happening at 22,900 and also at 22,800, making 22,800 the next key support level to watch out for when it comes to the market. So bullishness indicated when it comes to the index futures trend, but yes, well, that's your support level to watch out for, 22,800.
Well, absolutely, and bullish has been the theme of the day. That is the derivatives roundup coming in for you, but it was a thundering Thursday and Nifty hit a fresh record high. The index breached the 22,900 level for the first time, closed above the 22,950 mark as well. What were the factors that aided the move and what is the way forward then? Listen in to what ET Now's editor-in-chief Nikunj Dalmia had to say then.
It was a great day to track markets. But you have to understand that what has changed in the last 10 days and what will change in the near term. What has changed in last 15 days is this entire view which the markets took versus what they're taking now in terms of what the election verdict is. See, the only problem for the market in last 10-15 days was and is FI selling, which is a function of what view they've taken on emerging markets and which is a view what FIs have taken on election cycle. From first phase to second phase to third phase to fourth phase to fifth phase, the political commentary by political commentators seems to be endorsing what markets want to hear, which is that there is going to be continuity of the government and they will come back with a majority. That narrative was not such a strong narrative at the end of the second phase, and that made market nervous, and now that is reversing, which is leading to a bout of short covering. That's part one of the story. Part two of the story is that while we may like to look at apps, in Indian markets in isolation, let's not lose sight of what's happening in the world. The world is also at an all-time high. So you're not unique, you're not special. We like to think you're unique, you're special, but the fact is that you're catching up with what the global trends are. Nasdaq all-time high, S&P all-time high, European indices all-time high, Japan not far away from its all-time high. I think it touched a new high a couple of weeks ago. So you have a very strong drift which is there towards global markets. Within that, you had a local event which created some degree of nervousness. Then your market cap $5 trillion. Then your level of participation. So now the market positioning is such that the nervousness, the anxiety, the anxiousness is over. Now markets are approaching the event, which is an important event, 4th of June event, with not feather-light positions, with fairly high degree of commitment and with an assumption that whatever you will here get on the political front is something what markets are prepared for.
Alright, that was Nikunj Dalmia's view on what's been aiding the markets and especially the move that we did see coming in today. But let's keep it going with the big buzzers in today's trading session. My colleague Gaurav is here with a list of all the stocks that were either big winners or losers today on the back of their quarter four earnings or their respective news flows. Gaurav, take it away.
Let's begin with Uno Minda, because if we look at the numbers, those were actually quite strong. When we talk about revenue, that is up almost by 31% on a YY basis. PAT is up almost by 55% on a YY basis. And even if we talk about EBITDA margin, that showed an uptick of 145 basis points on a YY basis. And on back of this news, we saw the stock was also turning in green today. Next, let's talk about Page Industries, because if you look at the company's numbers, revenue was up only by 3.2%. Net profit was up 38% on a YY basis. We saw some improvement in EBITDA margin as well, but these numbers were actually a little lower than what the street was expecting, and on back of this news we saw the stock reacted in a negative today. Next, let's talk about Tega Industries, because the numbers, if we talk about, were actually quite strong for the company. Revenue was up almost by 27% on a YY basis. We saw net profit going up almost by 15%, and EBITDA margins also improved almost by 145 basis points. And if we look at the stock price also, that was up almost 6% in a days today. ITC is another candidate for earnings, where we saw revenue was up almost by 2.8%. EBITDA margins were actually higher versus on a YY basis, and EBITDA was actually in line with what the street was expecting, while margins were a little higher. If we talk about other updates, company actually saw some green shoots coming up from rural economy. They saw cigarette volumes going up almost by 2%. And lastly, company is going to have meeting on June 6th to discuss the hotels demerger. That is going to be be a big news for ITC, and that is why we are keeping an eye on ITC as well. And lastly, let's talk about GPT Infra, because company has been declared as L1 bidder from RVNL's project, which is worth 555 crore rupees. Now, given that the company has a market share of 1.5 thousand crore rupees only, this order could be a very big win for the company, and on back of this we saw the stock hit upper circuit in days today. So all in all, on the back of numbers as well as on back of the news flow, we will watch out for these stocks in tomorrow's trade as well, because we saw some decent traction coming up in these stocks in a day today.
Thanks, Gaurav, for that update coming in on the stocks that were buzzing in today's trading session as well. And DB Corp was one of the stocks that was buzzing in today's trading session. Good Q4. And the management commentary is also quite bullish. So, Girish Agarwal, promoter, director, Dainik Bhaskar newspaper group, shares his growth targets for financial year 25 as well. Listen in to what he had to say as well.
So, next year we are hopeful and targeting for a 10% growth. Going forward, automobile will fire furthermore. Real estate has to grow more. Education has to grow more. Jewelry. Now look at the jewelry market. Since look at the cost of the gold and silver. So that very much indicates that the jewelry market is further sorted to be growing at a much higher pace. So I think all these categories are going to fire for us.
That's the word coming in from the management of DB Corp. But let's talk about Nifty earnings. And well, today we had ITC come in with its numbers, revenue and PAT in line, and margin was above what the street was expecting. But when it comes to tomorrow, you have Hindalco coming out from the Nifty 50 pack, all set to report Q4 numbers. My colleague Ashesha is here with what to expect and what are the factors that we need to be watching out for when it comes to Hindalco's Q4 numbers. Ashesha, take it away.
Well, yes, we are expecting stable set of numbers from Hindalco this time around. Volumes are expected to remain flat for both the segments, aluminium as well as for copper segment. Remember, coal prices did decline in the fourth quarter of FY24, but they get impacted or reflected in financials only with a lag, and hence the benefit of lower coal prices will get reflected in the first quarter of FY25. As far as standalone numbers are concerned, revenues could come in at about 20,522 crores, which will be a growth of over 1% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Margins also could expand marginally. We are expecting margins at 10.1% versus 9.7% that the company had reported in the previous quarter. Now, remember, Novelis, which contributes about 70% of consolidated revenue, has already reported its numbers. Novelis numbers were largely in line. EBITDA per ton was a beat this time around. Company reported EBITDA per ton of $540 per ton, much better than its own guidance of $525 per ton. And it was also given medium-term EBITDA guidance of $600 per ton. Demand was also very strong. Aerospace demand was strong. Can destocking is behind us is what the management guided. So all in all, Novelis numbers were good. Management commentary was also good. And now all eyes will be on Hindalco's standalone numbers, where largely we are expecting stable performance on a sequential basis.
All right, thanks Ashesha for that update. So there you have it. That is what you can expect for Hindalco, and that is what the street is penciling in as well. But with that, we're completely timed out on this edition of Your Trades on ET Now. From me, Shreyansi Singh, Snehisha, as well as the entire team that put this show together, thank you so much for tuning in.